You are about to get the lowdown, a new series by D&L Transport where we explore the lives of freight brokers and their experiences, their stories, their tears, their fears. It's going to be a great series, and today we are excited to have our first guest, Jenelle in Florida. Jenelle has a really good story to tell, a great start. She's had some success, and we're just thrilled that she's going to join us to tell us a little bit about that.
Hello, thank you. I am so honored to be your first one, and really speaks a lot to me. So I'm excited to do this and share my story for sure.
Good. Well, thanks again for joining us. And obviously, this is a platform for freight brokerage agents. So tell us a little bit about your now as a freight brokerage agent. How long have you been doing it? Kind of what you do on a day-to-day basis.
So I started with D&L originally about 8 years ago. It was actually my first time as an agent getting into the business altogether. I didn't even know that much about it before I started doing it. And right now I work from home down in Florida. I have my office, and I'm shipping. Some of the things that I ship right now is like whey, supplements, some plastic bottles, and some brick. So after 8 years, you kind of got an idea of how things work, and it's mostly maintaining and, keeping things moving and stuff like that. So
it's been 8 years already. Can you believe that?
I know, it's crazy. I feel like if it's gone by fast and slow at the same time. But yeah, that's when I first met Jim, and he introduced me to the business, and started working with you guys, and pretty cool.
So tell us a little, to your comfort level, tell us a little bit about that, because it is a great story. You meeting Jim and Jim kind of introducing you to the business. Tell us a little bit about kind of that experience and kind of your road to where you are now.
So at that point, I had gone to school, and I was doing a CNA, and I was working towards getting my RN. I was getting ready to start my prereqs. I was recently divorced, newly single mom, and I worked also in a bar part-time, which is where I met Jim, and he would pop in and out, and I always enjoyed him when he came in. He was so much fun. He's such a funny person. So one day Jim came in, and it was like lunchtime, and we were talking, and, he was asking me how I was doing. He knew I was going through a lot. And so I was telling him, I'm committed to working 2 to 3 jobs if I have to for the next year, save some money so that I can make it through the RN program, and have a good life for me and my son. So, Jim had heard my story, and he was like, I'm looking to hire somebody part-time as an agent recruiter. And to me,
that's
that was
right.
Like, music
I forgot
to my
that's
ears.
how you got started.
Yeah. Yeah. So I totally was like, oh, pick me. Like bruised my hand and everything. He always jokes about that. He's like, you literally shot your hand up, like, please. So I was really excited. And so I started working with Jim part-time. I worked almost 6 or 7 days a week. I still worked as a CNA. I didn't have to give up any of that to keep my insurance and things. And I loved the business. He showed me, I worked with him directly one-on-one in the office, and
so you loved it right away.
I did. I mean, honestly, it was appealing because, it's unlimited income potential. You know what I mean?
Sure.
That's always, and no student loans. So that was always nice. And, here was this group of people that were so amazing, like you, Brian, and of course, Jason, Brent, Missy, and Becky. You all were a part of my success, not just Jim mentoring me and showing me how it works, but you guys were just all so very supportive if I had questions and what to expect and how processes went. And I just knew that you guys were good people, and I didn't ever have to worry about that part, which is really important.
You mentioned your son. Family is obviously very important to me, as I know it is for you. Mm-hmm. He's got to be pretty darn proud of you. I mean, you've had some good success, and so does he show that to you? I know he's, kids sometimes don't show you they're proud of you, but he's got to show you that somehow.
Yeah, I mean, he knows he's such a good kid, and working from home is nice because you get to be a little bit more present as a parent and
Yeah.
as a single parent, that's important. Yeah, he definitely he knows that I work hard and he helps me and he knows he's, definitely reaping the benefits of it, that's for sure.
Well, and that was my follow up is, I know how hard this business is, especially for an individual that doesn't have a full kind of, office there. Obviously
Mhm.
you've got the D&L back office, but I know how hard it is for an individual, not to mention a single mother. So it's just, it's quite the story. And I know that's probably got to be challenging at times. Like you say, working from home is
Yes.
nice, but it's got to be
Yes.
challenging because this is sometimes a
Oh, yeah.
24/7 business.
It is. I mean, it's demanding, it's stressful for sure. I mean, you are at the whim of your customers, which is what makes you good. I mean, if you've got to be dependable for them, you've got to be there when they ask you, or else they're going to go to somebody else. So you're always on call. Is kind of how I explain it to some of my friends, and so he knows. Even though you're home, mommy's still working, and I've got to do this, and it is definitely. Uh, you got to learn how to balance everything.
You mentioned your initial kind of introduction to the business was on the recruiting side with Jim.
Yep.
And I do recall fairly quickly thereafter, and as you
Hmm.
mentioned, you kind of started to learn the business from Jim. Do you recall when you started to gain a little bit of momentum and a feeling maybe inside like, hey, I can do this. I can make a career out of this. Do you have any recollection of that?
Oh yeah. That was like the life-changing moment. I think within like the first years, Jim actually had made a statement to me. He's like, you really like talking to people, don't you? And I said, I do. I enjoy it, and he's like, that's really what this business is about. It's about relationships and I think you have a knack for it. Do you want to be an agent and I can train you? And I said, yeah. So I think within like 3 months. And then it took me about another 3 months of recruiting, give or take. Some of that I could be wrong, but I really kind of recall like the first 6 months, I got my first phone call for somebody that wanted to give me a couple of loads. And like it was scary and exciting at the same time. And, um,
What a great
I
feeling,
just,
though.
it really was. And it just, and then each door opens up from there. And, like Jim said, you got to keep your irons in the fire. So, I just kept trying to reach out to other people and keep going and getting out the literature packets. And eventually it does work. You can't be afraid of those no's. You just got to keep going and realize it's just clarity. Okay, they're not the ones that are looking for help. Who is? And so within like, I think the first year that I started working at DNL, I tripled my income. So that was like a total life changing year for me. Um, and it's just, I've always stayed excited to do it ever since then. There are definitely bad days and good days in this business. We all know that. But
Yep.
to know that you can make it whatever you really want is really cool to me.
You mentioned a comment, "irons in the fire." I love that saying from Jim. It is certainly a saying that I'm sure you attribute some of your success to.
Oh,
But
yeah.
tell me a little bit about and obviously you're smart. You've got the education, CNA. You're obviously a hard worker. But tell me from your perspective, what do you think? Maybe one or two nuggets of your secrets to success, whether a specific example or whether a character trait, like, what do you attribute some of your success to?
Well, getting started, we always call those Jim-isms, the irons in the fire. He had so many when he was teaching a couple of us or mentoring a couple of us. So, I think just making sure you keep on pushing forward. Me, for what I guess what works for me personally is having a really positive attitude, and making sure that people know that, if something happens, I'm going to handle it in a positive way. I represent them. It's hard for them to get customers just as much as it's hard for us. And so I respect their business relationships with honesty, integrity, and hard work. So I think, people say those words a lot, but they really truly are what I focus on. And that and being dependable. When my customers email me, I'm making sure I'm emailing them back as quickly as I can. So they know that they can always reach out to me and I'm always there. So I think that's what people really want. They want to know that they've got somebody that's going to represent them good, and and be able to back up what they're saying,
Right.
and then also being dependable and being reliable, um, so they don't have to worry about what's going on, because they've got a million other things they do too. They want that off of their plate. They want to know they can give it to me and it's handled.
Right, right. And you bring up some good points, because obviously the industry now with technology and the investment in technology, and there will be a lot of changes in the next 5 years. But
Hmm.
one of the things that I always see from a freight brokerage agent like yourself, that has your own book of business, is you can really narrow in on and zero in on that true customer relationship. And
Hmm.
I think there's value there, and it sounds like that's certainly been a component of what you're really good at, and a component of your success. It sounds like.
Oh yeah, definitely. We all have different things and different relationships with each customer that we have. And you can talk to me, and my world's completely different to another group of agents. But as far as the level of my customers and what I do, that's where I'm comfortable. That's where my balance is. So I try to know what works for me in my life with my son, and because that's a real commitment, as well as really being committed to my customers and to taking care of myself.
Right, right,
So
right.
yes.
The business always isn't rosy, or every day is not rosy. Obviously, you mentioned that. What do you fear? Are there things that make you nervous, whether that be the unknown about the industry changes around technology, whether that be maybe just the daily grind? Do you have fears in the business?
Oh yeah. Jim says that I'm a worrier, and it's one of my biggest traits because I care so much, but worry causes stress.
Right, right,
So, I of course I feel like it's safe to say most of us are afraid to lose our biggest account, you know. And I think I see a lot of the businesses getting bigger, and then now they're reaching out to other agents, and there's like the bidding process, and whoever's the cheapest gets it. I guess like one of my fears is I'm starting to see that happen more, and I don't really like that because I don't like bidding back and forth in increments of $10,
right.
$30. Like at that point you're like, is this worth it for me? And but I think whenever I do have a fear, and of course there is also the fears of the trade that's going on globally, and how that trickles down, um,
Hmm.
and how it starts to affect and slow things down here. I've felt it with some of my weight and products from China itself. Some of my customers are slower right now, so those are definite fears that we have. Environmental sanctions that are going on and stuff with shipping across the freight liners and stuff, the ocean liners. So yes, I mean all of that. Um, it's all up in the air some days, but I think whenever I feel that fear, it just makes me push more. It makes me reach out more and start keeping those leads warm, and again, keeping the irons in the fire. So
Right.
whenever I feel like there's something that's like a weakness, I try to address it and say, okay, how can I make that feel more secure to me? And I think people are always gonna buy stuff. People are always gonna ship stuff. So when something clears out, something new is going to fill in. And you just have to be sort of flexible and flow with that and keep educated and stay on top of that. And I think that's, how it
Yeah.
happens. It's how you stay afloat,
Very smart.
basically.
Yeah, no, very reasonable. And you mentioned, kind of wrapped into that is the stress that surrounds this business. I mean, everybody handles stress differently. What do you, for instance, for me, I go run, or miles
Right.
upon miles. Some people, do yoga. I mean, how do you alleviate your stress daily?
I'm a very spiritual person. And so I like to I do meditation and yoga. I actually get out of the house and have a class of meditation for mental health, where I'm the one that's the instructor. I play
Oh,
singing
really?
bowls. Yes.
Huh.
So it helps me to stay like connected to community as well. So it's truly all about balance.
Yeah.
And so meditation helps me. I even if you're just breathing and calming your body down, getting out of that fight or flight into like a rest and digest situation, and or just taking and listening to music. It is whatever works for you. Like I know you do like what, triathlons, I think.
I do.
So, yes, that's amazing. And to me, I like to walk and ride my bike and yoga and all of that stuff. So, and even going to like my son's soccer game is
Right.
actually
Yeah, I
like
agree.
a release. So it's really finding that balance, but doing it too, not just knowing that it works for you and not doing it. Going to the gym because you know you need to go to the gym to make yourself feel better, to get those endorphins going.
Yep.
I think it's really important about finding what works for you, and that's what works for me. So
Yeah. And you've been with one brokerage company. You've been with D&L, obviously, from the start.
yes.
What does your ideal brokerage company look like? And I don't necessarily want to put you on the spot, but I know you probably have, and you can be as generic as you want. I'm just, what does your ideal brokerage company look like?
Like, I mean, not just saying this because you're interviewing me, but I really do feel like D&L is ideal to me. And there's the reasons for that is because I feel like you guys have a great steady growth rate. You're not trying to be the biggest out there overnight or even ever. I don't know. So I think that level of like that way it keeps us all still connected and on a familiar family type of basis where I know who I'm talking to. I get support. And I also think like growing with the times and the changes in the industry, a company that is aware of the broker's needs and how to stay competitive for us. Like if you guys are getting us the proper insurance and you're getting us the proper tools and the different things that we can use, even intermodal, new LTL, new different things that we can use, then that makes me a better agent. So I can stay competitive against other agents as well. And so I think you guys really have a good neck. We have you for legal advice if we ever really need it. we have Brent who's had like grown up in the business. We have Jim who can offer advice on rates and the different things from experience of how to handle different things as they arise. And you guys have always done that for me. So I think it's like a combination of all that stuff. And that's that's the level that I like to be at. I don't want people that are telling me I have to make 100 calls a day.
Right. Right.
That's too much. You're going to burn out.
It's too much, and it's nice to be your own boss too.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, absolutely. That independence, not the micromanaging, for sure.
Right. Well, Jenelle, incredible guest. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Really. Before we started, and I said I love your story. I mean it. So, thanks so much.
Thank you. It made my day. I told a few friends, I'm like, they want me out of like 3 agents, out of so many. I'm so honored. So I appreciate that.
Hey, Jenelle, thanks so much. We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you, Brian.
Okay.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.